Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the AI Integrations Podcast for episode 11. Happy Friday. Another exciting one for you today. Joining us, we have Christy and Sully from Code and Clarity AI, and we're going to be talking today about AI and accessibility. So, afternoon, Christy, Sully, welcome. How you guys doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having us on, Ben. It was a pleasure to meet you the other day, and love what you guys are doing. So I work as a co-founder with Code and Clarity. We do various different things involving AI, SDK wrappers, things along those lines. But today we're mostly going to be focusing on accessibility. A little bit about myself. I come from a background primarily in the hospitality industry. Didn't go to college. As you can see behind me is my kitchen. My office is getting redone. But there's a lot of things that are possible for me due to AI. Right? It all depends on how you do it. There's sort of the difference there between the proverbial AI slop generation and being able to really prompt things out, have it check your spelling, and really give it your own voice. Right? There's a couple different ways that's led me to get into my various roles within the tech industry and culminating into co-founding this company. Right? But accessibility is really important to me, and just a little bit about myself.
Cool.
So, hi, I'm Christy. I'm the technical co-founder of Code and Clarity. So Sully and I realized that there was a little bit of a gap in the market. So we focus primarily on the front-end side of AI application. We noticed there are a bunch of really smart people who are building awesome back-end services, APIs, frameworks, tools, but they're not really getting developer adoption. And so we step in, like Sully said, and we build SDKs to make that integration onto the front end easier, enhance docs. So basically, if you can have an AI understand your docs and learn your API, then it would make sense that a developer would be able to do the same. And so then from there, we also offer your traditional front-end UI, UX services. But like Sully said, we really want to focus on the accessibility aspect of AI today. Like he mentioned, with the tools that are available today, he's able to do so much more as a non-technical co-founder than he would have ever been able to do. And then me as a developer, the tools just allow me to accelerate my work on a level that I wouldn't have even imagined was possible.
I think he just froze on us.
Ironic technical difficulties.
Oh, that is funny.
Oh, wait, you're back. That's the beauty of doing live.
You can edit that out, right, Ben?
Nope, absolutely not.
Love it.
That's how you're going to know we're real humans and that's not AI generated, right?
You know, they say something like 80% of all content you see online now, like video content, is AI generated. And so I'm a huge believer that live is the future of basically all online video content if you want to be, recognized as anything other than an AI. Because it's going to get, it's not there yet, but pretty soon people are just going to assume anything pre-recorded is massively edited or AI generated.
I know that's when you're doing outreach. If you really want to mix it up, make sure to include one or two notable spelling errors when you message people. They'll really believe you're human then.
There was an article about that recently I saw, and personally I'm against the idea, but at the same time I understand the rationale behind it. So question for you guys with Code Clarity. Was there an aha moment where you're just like, ooh, here's this problem? Like, what was that moment where you said, wow, we should make a company to address this?
So I can actually take that. Yeah. So Sully does some work with other companies, and I was helping out with a hackathon that they were putting on, and there was just so much struggle. It was a context AI company, and they were having people build applications. And it was a 2-day hackathon, and it took the participants the entire first day struggling just to get the backend service running. And so I had this aha moment of this has to be easier, because I wanted to see the amazing things that they'd be able to build different AI applications with actually having memory involved. And they couldn't even get to the part where they were building the application. And so with that moment, I was like, okay, there has to be better way.
Interesting. And Sully, what was kind of the moment you were like, yeah, there's a need?
Well, Christy was going through a little bit of a job change at that time. And I had gotten more so into the tech industry and found something that I love doing, right? It's working in AI systems, helping improve various industries. So I'd gotten into it to help improve hotel and hospitality system because the tech industry there always lagged really, really far behind. When Christy noticed this problem, it was at the same time we realized that there's a little bit of a market for this, right? We found our first problem point, and since then we found quite a few more that she's touched on. Technical documentation, token optimization, a couple of different things, and sort of addressing those problem points over time. It's been a cascading set of effects that sort of went and made me realize, hey, this is something that we can do. This is an area in the market that's much needed. And it's something that's very interesting and exciting. When we talk about AI adaptability, it's insane looking back. About 2 weeks ago, I was helping do an educational learning lab at Pace University, right? For a company that I work with. And I was sitting there talking to the guy running it after the event. And I realized that, if you're going to go get a machine learning degree or an artificial intelligence degree now, it's taught a curriculum that might be 2 years old. AI adapts so quickly to new technology. Some of the problems that you used to face no longer exist. So if you're constantly at the forefront of researching new tools, I'm sure we'll get a little bit into the way Anthropic's changed the face of coding, the way that Gemini, I don't know if you know, it's Gemini's 3 launch, and I haven't gone too deep into that yet, but that is some very interesting stuff there. I mean, 2 years ago, a lot of these would be extremely challenging to code any of this yourself, right? Now you get someone like me that has very, very basic limited coding knowledge. My intro was building computers at 14, and then it changed off and I went into restaurant management, wine studies, sommelier route, all that stuff. And then I reeled back into tech. That would be impossible. And it's again, that accessibility, and it's being at the forefront of this technology. And it's so exciting to me. Like, I get a lot of fun brainstorming ideas with Christy on seeing how can we tackle issues in front of us, and getting to sit down and have amazing conversations with, you guys, and in the chat bot that you both have set up. I mean, that wouldn't have been possible a couple of years ago, I don't think, at all, without the help of AI, right?
Everything in this industry is moving so rapidly that half the job is just keeping up with the technological advances.
Yeah. One of my favorite Sam Altman quotes on that same note is hire for slope, not y-intercept. And that just goes into the thought of, like, in today's world of AI, if you were a great engineer with it 2 years ago, but you were in a coma and woke up, today, you're not going to be a great engineer anymore. And it's sad to say, but almost someone who wasn't a great engineer 2 years ago, but then has been progressing over this 2 years, would probably outwork you. I'm curious, Sully and Christy, from a technical and a less technical perspective, what are the tools you guys use every day? What are the tools you love, can't live without, kind of some of that stuff?
I can start off with that. So I definitely leverage most of the developer tools that are available. I have a Claude Code Pro account, which I use to the very limit. It helps me to very quickly put out work that would have taken me weeks in a matter of hours. And then on top of that, I'm using various tooling to just help me learn. Notebook LLM is a favorite of mine in particular, and I know it's also a favorite of Sully's, where you can input all of your own documentation, websites, anything that you're interested in, and suddenly you have a trained model on that content that you can query, that can give you audio recordings that are summarized in a podcast format, and they're even working on like video summaries. So you essentially have your own personalized tutor for whatever content you want to learn about. And you can cut through all of the junk that's online. And all you have to do is put in a few websites into Notebook LLM, and you have this up and running.
Yeah, no, I love Notebook LM. It's a big reason why I've been able to learn what I've learned. In all honesty, is I set up a little thing on my computer using Claude Code, right, and a couple other apps that lets me plug into OpenAI's API, ChatGPT 4.0 Mini, and field URLs with queries. I can convert all that into a massive PDF document, pull GitHub repos and everything, and then put that in a Notebook LLM and just I have a study guide as I'm trying to source problems and find answers. I can do that in real time. And that goes with sort of anything I'm doing research on. I'm trying to learn. So as new technology arises, as new problems show up, I can spend 15 minutes setting something like that up and just doing it. And, if we're talking about speed of iteration, accessibility, like my coding knowledge was last time when I was 14, 15, learning how to say, hello world and what a loop is, right? And like basically what back then I did was called being a script kiddie. I don't know if we still use that term anymore, but it was with, I was doing like backtrack and pen testing using Wireshark. And yeah, and I would just copy things other people had set up. And I was what was known as a script kiddie. I really had no idea what any of it was doing. But now if I do the same thing, I can plug that in and fully analyze it and have it explained to me in real time, right?
Yeah, I think that's super cool. And I think that's funny that, this notion of vibe coding is relatively a new one, but the principle, I think, kind of predates all this AI code too, right? There were people copy pasting things together using Stack Overflow long before vibe coding became a popular term.
Yeah. I saw a funny quote the other day and it said, executives and CEOs have actually been vibe coding since the beginning of time. If you want to look at it that way, it just took a lot longer and cost a lot more for them to get the results they wanted.
It's funny because
go ahead. Sorry.
at my previous position, I ended up in a technical training role. And when I started developing, like you were mentioning, Spencer, it was be careful. Don't just copy paste what you see on Stack Overflow and pray that it works. And now it's don't just copy paste what the AI has generated and hope that it works. The difference between being able to create a production grade app and having an MVP, there's a distinction when it comes to all of these tools. Sully is able to problem solve by himself without my help as a developer, generate an app, an integration extension tool, what have you, quickly put it out. And then I can go and look at that code. And because I have the baseline, I can see whether or not the code is actually good and I can actually debug it. And so there is a little bit of a difference between the two. Vibe coding definitely gives you a great starting point and can accelerate any kind of feature that you're making.
Yeah, the analogy we've made on the channel before, which I think is super relevant here, is it'd be like give vibe coding for someone that doesn't know how to code, at least at more than an MVP/fun little side project scale, is like giving a 16-year-old a Formula One car versus giving Michael Schumacher that same Formula One car. Yes, you could go insanely quick, but if you don't know how to drive it, you're going to crash and burn. And so I think that's very relevant.
Yeah, it's actually fascinating. I mean, communication has always been a core skill for any business, but it's becoming way more relevant these days because how do you communicate to the AI? Can you take your idea, your problem, and actually write it out in a clear and concise way so that it can actually solve your problems?
Yeah, saying more than just fix this into Claude Code.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I want to change the topic a little here, get a little more philosophical with it. When we're talking about accessibility in AI, right now we're in a time where it's more accessible, coding, programming, AI, than almost any bit of tech's ever been. Anyone, I mean, children can literally pick this stuff up and start playing with it and start doing incredible things with it. So from that sense, accessibility is greater than it's ever been in tech. Yet at the same time, I feel like there's so much information coming out. Things are developing so rapidly and the rabbit holes are so deep that at that base level, you're really, yeah, you can get in, you can play with it, but you're getting such a cursory bit of it. And it feels like there's almost a larger barrier to entry into like AI and AI development than there are in old coding. Because it used to be you could go get one book on Java or on C++. And if you worked your way through that book, sure, it's a lot harder to get into it and get going. That first hello world took you an hour to put together, but you had a concrete foundation you could build from it. With an AI, I feel almost that, yes, it's easy to get started, but it's almost harder to get good at because of the breadth of everything going on. What kind of, I'm curious, what's your thoughts on that as far as, is it easier to get into, do you think, now to tech than it's ever been? And is it truly easier though? Or is it just everyone's surface level? It's kind of like you gave everyone a toy to play with. So yes, everyone can play with the toy, but no one actually is, kind of like as Spencer was just saying, it's like kind of like we gave everyone an F1 car, but we didn't give anybody driving lessons, right?
I'll start on the little top level and then let Christy go further down the rabbit hole after. But from a philosophical point of view, I know you're an avid reader, Ben. I'll counteract that with sort of something I learned very early on, which is if you want to feel like you know a lot about something, read one book. If you want to realize how much you don't know, read 5, right? And I feel like AI is the same thing where a lot of people have this surface level. They can memorize 10 different buzzwords, maybe tell Claude if they get pro or whatever level they have, I want app to do X, Y, and Z. Build me an app that generates pictures of cats and party hats, right? Or whatever you want it to do. Set up a very basic plugin and do that. But until they start to get a little bit below the surface level and understand, hey, how can one function interact with another function? What are basic sort of calls you can do in Python or basic things you can install with Homebrew that will have this effect? And that's not even so much being able to code any of this in. It's just understanding what is out there that you can call to potentially create something in a way that will interact with each other. And then there is just the AI slop that we talk about. 80% of content online right now is AI. You go through any social media viral feed, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, anything like that, and it's just going to show you these AI generated background images with some story with a voice over it. And like, that's, to me, I don't like watching that, but I also can't lie. Sometimes I go down that rabbit hole and sit there and watch it for a prolonged period of time. But, and when you start getting further and further down past sort of where I am, which is the basic understanding of how these systems interact with each other, that's when like Christy comes into knowledge. Because past there, I stay at the surface level right now, jack of all trades, and I'm picking a couple of rabbit holes to go down, but they go infinitely down. I don't think there's a bottom for us as humans. Because once you get to the bottom, there's a trap door there with innovation that's coming, if not by someone else, by yourself, right?
Yeah, to build on that and what you said, Ben, what it really comes down to now is curation. The people that actually have some sort of baseline in whatever industry or field these tools are helping you with, you need to have someone that is able to curate what is out there so that you have a starting point. Because you're right, everybody has access to this, but it's overwhelming. And how do you know what is good and what is bad? It's like back in the beginning of the web, I remember in computer class being told, you can't use Wikipedia because it's not credible. And now we have all of this AI generated content, and a lot of it's actually hallucinating. So in addition to there being so many tools, so much information, you don't even know if the information you're receiving has been hallucinated or if it's actually valid. And so we need people to become editors for the content that's out there, and editors that can essentially create roadmaps. And once you have a start point, like Sully said, you can start to go down that rabbit hole. And then it's a matter of going to the experts, friends, anyone who has a little bit more understanding of whatever it is that you're playing with these AI tools, to get down to the next level so you can continue to build, because that's really what this gives us. Everyone now has the ability to be a content creator. You just need to know what tools to start with.
Yeah, I think the common theme I just heard there, and we've kind of been talking about, is using AI as a thought partner, not a thought replacement. I think that that's a big thing going on in society right now. If you use it as a thought partner, it can accelerate your work and teach you things quicker than ever before. But if you don't do some quality control and some thinking of yourself on the output, and you're truly using it as a thought replacer, like I was doing some security work the other day, and it made this beautiful password encryption file, but then it never even imported it to where we're using our password. And I was like, what are you doing? You know, and if you don't know what you're doing there, you're like, oh, I made the encryption file, good to go, check, you know. So I think that's a common theme in coding and in just general, you know, life. Like, it could write you this beautiful paper, but if you don't read it and quality control it, it could have a hallucination midway through and completely throw off everything. So yeah, I think that's interesting.
On that note, for all the people jumping in, what are those pitfalls they should be watching out for, right? Because it is so easy to get into AI now. I mean, I see advertisements every day for, if you could think of it, you can build it type thing, right? And we here all know that it's not quite that simple. The general public, I don't think, fully understands AI really at all. What are the pitfalls to be aware of? What are the things people should be looking out for?
I mean, I guess I'll start. I'll start that one off.
Looks like everyone has ideas on this one.
I think everyone has ideas on this spot, right? Because we've all kind of jumped into a new tool, especially in the tech industry. Like, you go on Product Hunt, you look at 10 new AI tools that all promise the exact same thing, and you start building it. I think the number one pitfall, I know we discussed it briefly last time, I think, Spencer, which is I'm kind of waiting to see with some of these tools, especially the new ones that are coming out that, you know, were insanely vibe coded out, like where these massive data breaches are going to start happening, right? And where there's going to be these security concerns. Like, I'm very careful when I adopt new tools, and then I like to also field test as much as possible. I know that everyone in here is all, we're all co-founders or C-suite executives or, you know, whatnot. If my email, LinkedIn, company domain get leaked right now, like, that's, I don't know if we are able to recover from that at the stage we are as a company, right? And like, that's just being very realistic. Like, you have a lot of people in the tech industry that they're running very small firms or small to mid-sized businesses. A lot of startups are 50 people or under. And like, if they're using some of these vibe coding tools in their systems unknowingly that have these security breaches, like, they might not, there's very real possibility they cannot recover from it, right? And I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls at the moment is the security.
Something that I've also noticed is when you're getting started with these AI tools, people inherently trust what the AI gives them back right away. And like we were talking about before, there's the possibility that the AI has hallucinated. Like, most people get started in AI by going to ChatGPT and asking it questions, but ChatGPT is created to essentially affirm whatever it is that you're asking it. It wants to please you. It wants to give you the best response so that you walk away happy. And unless you are watching and managing the model, you're just going to end up in an echo chamber of yes men's, and you're not actually going to learn anything. So you need to be checking the sources that it's giving you. You need to verify that the information isn't something that's been completely made up. So the first thing I would say for any new users of AI is be a little bit wary. Take it with a grain of salt. You don't know if the information it's giving you is actually accurate.
Yeah, and on the note of just yes manning, one thing I've done that's helped a lot with that is in your system prompt for a thing like ChatGPT, you can say, no, like, be critical of me, push back. If I have a bad idea, tell me it's a bad idea. We made the joke in our Eddie Burback video about ChatGPT that made me delusional, that if you said you were going to mortgage or sell your house to go put it all on red, ChatGPT might affirm that. And the sign of a good friend or high emotional intelligence in life isn't just being a yes man. It's pushing back on your friends when they have a bad idea. So being wary of that and encouraging ChatGPT to do that's a good thing. I also will segue into, by nature, we like using these AIs for the things we don't know, which is good with moderation, as we've talked about. but I would encourage any first-time user to use it for something they do know. Whatever you're a subject domain expert in, I don't care if it's like skateboarding, snowboarding, you pick it. Ask it about that, because that'll show you kind of some of the limitations. One of my favorite creators on YouTube, his name's Theo Brownlee, and he's got a benchmark he does for the AI models called SkateBench, which is just asking it to name all these skateboarding tricks, because that's a domain that he's an expert in, and he thinks it's really interesting to watch how they do this untested domain.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, trust. Also, like not giving away too much information, as we were talking about with the security, and not getting overwhelmed by the amount of tools. Start with one and actually get comfortable using it, rather than picking up like 10 or 12, all that say that they're specialized for something, because you're never going to actually become an expert in anything if you're constantly switching to the latest shiny thing that's come out on Product Hunt or what have you. So yeah, it comes down to be a little bit wary, take it with a grain of salt. Don't just get it sensitive information, and then start with one and go from there.
I saw something crazy. It was probably about a year ago now, but ChatGPT had over 1 million bank account numbers in it from people just uploading their bank account information into ChatGPT and saying, like, summarize my finances. And that actually segues into something that's a little nerdier, and we should not go down the rabbit hole too hard on.
I'll go down a little.
Local versus cloud compute, right? Like, a lot of your average user doesn't understand the concept of cloud compute, i.e., your data is being sent off to somewhere else and you don't necessarily own the control of that data. I think local AI is going to be one of the big kind of milestones when we truly have high quality local AIs, when you are a little more able to do things that are security conscious and not worried about OpenAI or Microsoft. You pick your major tech company training on your data. What are your guys' thoughts on like local compute, where it's at, where it's going to go, especially regarding the AI context?
Well, I mean, I know at least for myself, I was a avid PC user for most of my life. By the way, I don't know if there's any of us inside the room, right? But
right here, PC all the way.
There we go. Now, as much as I love PC, I do have an issue when I'm dealing with a lot of AI-based things like on cloud and fielding a lot of these new tools. And also, Christy uses Mac. So she kind of convinced me, hey, I'll teach you how to do a bunch of stuff using Mac because it's what I already know. And I said, I got an ex-dev evangelist who's my co-founder. Might as well use the platform that they work on, right? But in doing that, the Mac book that I got a MacBook Air. I realized I didn't need like a Pro. And I was looking into specs. The M4 chip is all built around and optimized for Siri to be using their AI systems, right? So this whole generation of computers is built with AI systems in mind. And with the type of GPU it has on board and the 16 gigabytes of RAM, it's able to safely run about a 7 billion parameter LLM, right? Now, I haven't done it myself. I haven't had time to, but it's something I was fielding. And I've been looking around. I saw a couple apps that I haven't tested yet, but they allow you to combine the processing power of like your laptop with your iPad and your phone. You can combine all of it together to run local models. And I also know NVIDIA just dropped a PC specifically for running local LLMs, OLAM and whatnot.
Okay, yeah. You should hear Spencer's setup.
Oh, dude, I would see. This is a rabbit hole I'd love to go down. And then also, so one of the other companies I work with, I'm not going to mention their name because obviously, like, they don't know I'm on here. I wasn't feeling to talk publicly. But if you ever are in the mood for context memory, let me know. They have the best Locomo scores, like a low latency score for that. If you look that up, you'll find out who it is, right? But a big thing that they were dealing with in fielding was setting up their memory on local servers for data, right? So you could have personalized AI assistants, similar to, there's a famous actor that was asking about that like he can put in all of his writing and all of his work, and it's not going to be on ChatGPT's profile, and he has control of what to save and edit. And the most important thing is if I have that for myself, I can take that data and import it into any tool I'm using. I don't have to retrain agents. Once I have all that in a single place, I can move it to whatever works best,
Yeah, there's also another element of it is if you have your own local models running, then you're saving potentially millions of dollars on token costs, because that's really coming down to what the cost of any tool that you're building these days is. It's like how quickly you're hammering that API, whether it be Anthropic or OpenAI. And so it's what Sully and I have noticed is that there's now a huge need for token optimization. And you'd be surprised at how much can actually be done on the front end for that. But if you have a local model, you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah. On that note, I was a little reckless financially, and I might have bought a DGX Spark and been playing with some pretty powerful local models. Incredibly cool. Especially the concept of daisy chaining them. So they've got 200 gigabit networking, which means that's quicker than a lot of internal stuff in a computer. So I'm excited for it. I do use it. So I use Quinn30B with a bunch of tools and contexts locally, and I import that into Cursor. That way I'm not just burning through tokens and because I get rate limited too. I'm almost disappointed in myself if I don't hit the max of my plan, And so one thing I've done to kind of curb that is the simpler queries I just run locally off of Quinn30B now.
That's definitely something I need to look at, because I went through a phase which I recommended against people. Don't just pick up a dozen tools, because I can tell you that gets very expensive very quickly, when in reality, they're mostly just wrappers around the core models. They might specialize in doing something a little bit better, but ultimately you can train the model if you're already paying for OpenAI to do the exact same thing. But again, it's like time cost. But yeah, I ended up with a ridiculous bill for all of the different tools. Claude Code, GenSpark was one that I was really excited by, Cursor Pro, you name it. And if I'm trying not to think and just be in the flow of coding, I don't want to be considering the token costs. I'm just going, and next thing I know, I've got a bill for over $1,000.
Yep. One thing I've really enjoyed about that Quinn30B on the DGX Spark is I'm not worried about that now, right? So I can say, I'm going to make 5 different branches and let it try 5 different ways of implementing these 5 different, of this one feature. And then I'll go read and see which one's the best afterwards. Whereas if you did that with cloud compute, I mean, you totally can, but the bill will be scary. So I think that's a really cool balance. And that also brings up another thing I like to kind of point out as far as the thought partner and hallucinations. I like to think of these as junior developers. And if you ask one junior developer to do something, you might get a good product. If you ask 10 to do something, you're a lot more likely to get something done well. So again, it's a balance here between cost. But something I like to do is have Sonnet 4.5 do a version of it. GPT-5 Codex do a version of it, Gemini 3 do a version of it. And then if they all kind of in unison give you a similar response, that's going to up my level of certainty. To where if they disagree, then you can go in there and like, oh, this one messed up. This is why. This one makes sense. This is why.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually was playing around with that quite a bit with the mobile app for Cursor, where you can literally spin up agents to be doing a number of different tasks on your repository, and they're all saved in different branches. And you can choose different models, and you can have different models working on the same branch. So it is really fascinating to see the differences that come out depending on what the model is, which if you're trying to optimize for that token usage, that is one of the things that you can do from the front end. Is if someone is querying something or just saying thank you, which you'd be surprised at the number of people actually say please and thank you to their models, you don't need to be hitting the highest level model for that cost, when in reality, it could be the lowest level, it could cost you nothing. So being able to route the models is something that you can do to ultimately save on some of that token cost.
You can't blame people too much for the pleases and thank yous. I think they're worried about when the AI overlords take over and the Terminator start walking the streets. It kind of determines where you end up on the hit list. One final thing I want to talk about here is I would love to hear your wildest, craziest, most likely unheard of predictions for where AI is going in the future.
Ooh.
I'll go first. One of the things I think is going to happen, I think hardware is going to become something that people no longer purchase. We are going to become a hardware-free society in the sense of you'll have a cell phone. That'll just be a processor. It'll be a computer and that's all it is. And beyond that, you won't need any other hardware because everything's going to end up networked together and it's going to be shared processing power. So instead of having to go and upgrade your computer every couple of years to get the fastest, latest one, instead at all times, you're going to have direct access through an individual device that's using shared processing power kind of across the country with everything networked and linked.
Yeah, I like that one. We spoke about that one a little bit. I don't know. For me, I like the whole AI overlords aspect. Like that's always a fun one to field. I do believe that some people's internal systems that they build, like local LLMs, I think a lot of the models that already come out, they have a lot of safety checks in place. I know there was something I was reading recently about hallucinations and AIs going rogue. I think it was Anthropic had like set up a whole scenario where the AI found out it was going to get shut down. So they got this guy fired at a hypothetical company, right? Because the AI read it as a problem. And what they do to prevent that happening at the moment is they have really stupid models of AI, keep the smart ones in check. So they all the ethics basis of AI is all done by like the dumbest level of AI. So it can't outthink what it's doing. So I feel like at some point that chain's going to get broken and some insane stuff is just going to happen out on the internet, which will be very entertaining to watch.
Elon Musk just commented on that very topic on X today. And he said the problem with putting a moral code in an AI effectively is what he calls the Waluigi issue. If you teach a AI to be Luigi, right, like from Mario Brothers,
Mm-hmm.
its inverse is Waluigi, the evil version. So if you build a moral AI, if it flips or if people can get it to flip to its inverse, you get the exact antithesis of that, and that's terrifying. And so that's why he says everything needs to be truth-based, not morality-based.
I mean, as far as ethics go for me, though, this is the last thing I'm going to say is I hate getting around ethics filters on AI. It's the easiest way for me to break things. So if someone shows me some AI product that works well, I'll find a way to break it using a weird abstract ethics filter idea I have. Because back from when I was a kid, I did pen testing. I like to break stuff.
Hey.
Doesn't every kid? Chrissy, what about you? What's your predictions for the future?
My prediction. I mean, I honestly don't believe that AI is going to replace us. I feel like you might end up with an AI manager, but we're moving towards a world where effectively websites and applications are no longer going to exist. It's going to be that everybody has a personalized AI agent that works on their behalf and goes and grabs or does the services that you need. And so I think that's really where we're going, is like the app itself is simply your customized AI model so that it can work on your behalf.
That kind of fits into my idea because I think that's where like you're going to pull up to a grocery store if you bother going yourself instead of sending a robot, right? You're just going to walk to the door and the robot's going to have everything that your AI already knows your fridge needs and just hand it to you at the door, or more likely hand it to your robot that then goes and gets the robotic car and brings it back and then loads it in your fridge for you before it cooks it for you and then feeds it. But
we got to be careful that we don't end up like WALL-E and end up like super fat in our little floating chairs, unable to do anything.
We will. People always go for the path of least resistance.
Yes, you are right. It's fascinating to me, like the amount of power that you have with these tools. And all it comes down to is communication, curation, and honestly, curiosity. Like a lot of people can't be bothered to even get started. And all you have to do is have a problem and start to break it down. And the AI can actually help you solve it. You just have to be willing to take the first step.
The 3 C's: communication, curation, curiosity.
Mhm.
Spencer, what about you?
I've got kind of 2 hot takes. I think first of all, in the long run, and I'm talking 5 years plus, I believe AI will allow us to actually interact with each other as humans more and not go Ready Player One mode. My thought on that is there's a lot of people, and especially in like lower tier white collar jobs, whose days are primarily spent doing data entry or data qualification, or a lot of these processes that are going to be automated. So my hope is that the automation of a lot of the redundant logic-based work allows for us to spend more time as creative and social humans. That's my hope.
Yeah, I definitely see that being a path, which then allows us to actually use our brains for that creativity. So automate all of the grunt work, the stuff that honestly we don't really need to be doing. We're managing tools and we don't need to do that. The AI can handle it. Let's actually use our brains for the creativity, the strategizing, the problem solving, coming up with products.
Awesome. Before we jump here real quickly, if you guys want to let people know where they can find more about you guys, your website, whatever else, please give yourselves a shout out.
So you can definitely find us codeclarity.ai. We're available there. We have, as well as we're prevalent on LinkedIn. You can come by and find me. Sully's the name I go by at work. It's my personal name, making sure people actually know me personally. But on LinkedIn, my name is Matthew O'Sullivan. And Christy, anything more to add about some blog posts or anything specific on that end?
Yeah, we're also on Medium. That's our primary blog spot. And yeah, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Christy with an I, or as I like to put it, Christ with an I. And Christy Reed, find me on LinkedIn, find me on any of the socials. But yeah, would be super interested to hear what you guys think.
Awesome. Well, Christy, Sully, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, everyone, please like, subscribe, follow, not just us, but them as well. And hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Spencer, any last words?
No, just thank you for joining us, Sully and Christy. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Bye, everybody.